Divine Revelation, the time is over. Kindly do subscribe to this channel that brings you unfiltered truth. If you wish to donate something to this channel, use the link in description below. Ubani Kingsley is a young man that dropped off his education in the university to become an evangelist of the gospel of Jesus Christ a few years ago, and still, by God's standards, was disappointing. He was warned in a revelation about the urgency of the end of time, and the need for the real children of God to stand up, or risk losing their precious salvation. This testimony is an excerpt from the book, Time is Over, by Brother Ubani Kingsley, on whose permission we are reproducing it. He hails from Abia State, Nigeria. He had his second encounter with Jesus Christ and eternity a few years ago, which he published titled, Another Warning. He preaches salvation to the core and he is dedicated to bringing deliverance to God's people. He is the founder of Fountain of Salvation Ministries International. Take time to read this encounter in Brother Ubani's own words with all concentration. Frankly, you will never be the same. Other heaven and hell experiences from Ubani Kingsley, End Time Revelation and Another Warning. An angel is sent. A young evangelist met me at EcoHA Shopping Center Aba to book me for a program. He has been interacting with me on a cell phone before we met with each other, and each time he would call me, he would want to know the days I would have a chance to visit his evangelism team and share my experiences in heaven and hell with them. When I saw him, I was amazed because I thought that the person who has been speaking with me on phone was an adult, but I was wrong. The person wasn't an adult but a teenager. More so, I thought he was sent by his father or his evangelism leader to come and meet me, but he came by himself. Nobody sends him. After a little conversation, he said that he wanted to snap me with his camera, and I consented. On the 15th and 16th of September I visited the evangelism team. When I came there, the audience were children except for the parents of the young evangelist and the parents that brought their children to that place and whose number was not up to 7. Having seen that my audience were children, I brought down the language low and applied some communication skills according to their level in order to capture their interest, and I did. To the glory of God, those children were crying to God for mercy on their souls at the end of each message. As I was looking at these children who were crying for God's mercy, tears started rolling down my cheeks, and I tried and held myself, but I couldn't hold myself again. When I got to my house, I began to cry. The reason why I was crying in my house was that the judgment of God is very strict. As far as heaven and hell are concerned, God does not want to know whether the person is a child, a teenager, or a youth or an adult. It is His word that will stand against the person in judgment, as it is written in John 12:48, He that rejected me and receiveth not my word hath one that judgeth him, the word that I have spoken the same will judge him on the last day. God has nothing to do with unbelievers or people who are not born again, because already those people are dead or condemned while they are still alive. He that believeth on him is not condemned, but he that believeth not is condemned already, because he hath not believed in the name of the only begotten Son of God, John 3:18. But we who have accepted Jesus Christ as our only Savior, our judgment will be very strict. The Bible says the time is come that judgment to begin at the house of God, and if it first begins at us, what the end will be of them that obey not the gospel of God. And if the righteous scarcely be saved, where shall the ungodly and the sinner appear? 1 Peter 4:17-18. When I saw those children crying, I remember that even though the Bible has said that their angels are beholding the face of their Father in heaven, yet God will still judge them strictly. Then I asked myself, what will happen to me if I don't pass the standard of God? After asking myself that question, which I know that the answer is that even though I am a preacher of the salvation message, if I don't pass God's standard, He will send me to hellfire. Then I began to cry for mercy upon my soul, because it is better for me to cry now that I am alive than to cry in hellfire, because God will not listen to me. Instead, His anger will burn more on me. Child of God, I cried for mercy for a long time, but there was no answer that could give me relief. Then I started asking God questions. Understand that as a child of God, you have the right to ask God questions because He is your Father. You are not a bastard as far as you are born again genuinely, but you must be very polite and respectful in your question to God. You must not be harsh in your language to Him. I was asking God whether He will abandon me at last to suffer in hellfire. Please understand me. I didn't ask God such a question only because I saw the children crying and I remembered how God carries His judgment out, but because I was having a feeling that something was wrong in the supernatural. The 16th of September 2012 was the second and last day I visited the evangelism team. When I finished sharing my experience in heaven and hell, I went back to my house. I could not sleep. I was restless. I knew that if I miss heaven after preaching the gospel in this world, Satan and those muscular ugly beings in hellfire will torment me greatly. As a result of that, I started crying again and asking Jesus whether he will leave me behind when he takes away his people. As I was doing that, an angel appeared to me physically. Please, I would like you to understand that the reason I said physically is that I was not sleeping, but I was awake. When the angel appeared, my room became very bright. The angel was wearing sparkling white clothes, and he had wings. For clarity, that night there was no electric light in the house. The Power Holding Company of Nigeria (PHCN) interrupted it, and the light went off. And what I used to illuminate my room in such a situation was torchlight. I switched off the torchlight at that very moment because the battery was not strong, it was weak. In addition to that, there was a very bright light around the angel, but there was darkness around me. It was as if I was in spiritual darkness, and he was in the spiritual light, and it seemed there was a separation between us. Then the angel called me, Kingsley, and I looked at him, and he said to me, "Your master, Jesus Christ, asked me to pass a message to you." When I looked at the angel, I asked him what the message was all about, and he said to me, "Your master asked me to tell you that you are trying, but he expects you to put more efforts so that more people can be saved before his arrival." Then I told the angel that I have heard him, but that message is not the issue at hand. The issue was whether Jesus Christ would leave me behind to suffer in hellfire when he comes to take away his people. When I said that, the angel said to me, "Kingsley, I am a messenger, and I don't have an answer to your question. I only came to deliver the message I was asked to deliver to you." Having heard the angel, I was grieved. I needed to know whether Jesus Christ would leave me to suffer in hellfire after all my efforts to make him happy, because on 13th day of May 2012, when he opened the book of life and showed on the screen the names of people who were obediently and faithfully waiting for the coming of Jesus Christ and their pictures, my name and my picture were not among them. And when he opened my file of work, nothing was written in it. Then he was very angry at me, so I wanted to know how he will treat me on the last day, and that was the reason why I was crying. As a result of the angel's inability to give me an answer to my question, I asked him about my master, Jesus Christ, and he told me that he was in heaven, and I was more grieved. Then I said to the angel, "I now understand the reason why I was having the feeling that something was wrong in the supernatural," and he asked me what was it that I understood. And I told him that it was because my master has abandoned me, and that was the reason why he sent him, the angel, to me. If it were not so, he wouldn't have sent the angel to me. Then the angel said to me, "Kingsley, you are wrong," and I told him that I am not wrong but right, because ever since I came into a relationship with my master, he has never sent an angel to pass a message to me, and now that I needed him most, he did not come. Instead he sent him, the angel, to me. But the angel still insisted that I was wrong. Then I said to him, "If you said that I was wrong, go and show me my master." When I made that comment, his countenance changed. He became angry at me, and in that mood, he asked me, "Do I want him to take me to my master?" And I answered, "Yes," to him. I didn't want to know whether he was angry at me or not. All I wanted was to see my master, Jesus Christ. Then the angel said to me, "Kingsley, since you insisted that you want to see your master, you will certainly see him now." When the angel said that, he came closer to me and touched me, and I collapsed. I became like a dead person on the bed when my spirit came out of my body. When that happened, the angel held me on my right wrist. He said to me, "Now, let's go and see your master," and we left my room to heaven. The invisible line. When we left my house, we started walking up to heaven. But at a point, I saw an endless queue of people who were moving toward the gate of heaven. When we came closer to them, I started looking at them. Some of those people were looking at me as someone they knew, but I didn't recognize any one of them. All of those people were shivering in fear as they were moving to the direction of the gate. The gate is so small that two people cannot enter into it at the same time. One person must wait for the other person to pass, whether he is going inside or coming outside. Another thing I want you to know is that the gate was opening by itself. There were things that caught my attention when we came closer to the gate of heaven. The things that caught my attention were two invisible bold lines which were red and black in color, and either of these lines was appearing on the ground, and either of the lines was appearing when each of those people in the queue crossed the points where the lines were positioned. However, from my observation, the position of the lines could be about 5 feet or 60 inches from the gate of heaven. The width could be about 1 foot or 12 inches, and that line is the line of judgment that was separating the people who were not born again from the ones who were born again. Another thing that caught my attention was this: if the person who crossed the line was born again, the line would appear red in color, which was an indication that the person has accepted Jesus Christ into his or her life. Then a voice would say, "Move forward and enter the gate." But if the person was not born again, the line would appear black in color, which showed that he or she did not accept Jesus Christ into his or her life, and a thunderous voice would say, "Depart from me, I know you not. Depart from me, depart." When the word, "depart," was been exclaimed by the voice, a terrible wind came and carried the person to the direction of hellfire. Beloved of God, there is danger ahead of us. While I was there, I noticed that the number of people who were asked to depart was greater than the number of people who was asked to move forward and enter the gate. What I am saying here is that the people who were asked to move forward and enter the gate were 2 in number, while the people who were asked to depart were more than 2,630 people. As those people were moving forward to the point where the line was located and was being asked to depart to hellfire by that voice, a man stepped on that very point, and the line appeared black in color, but there was silence. Then an angel walked to him and called him, "Francis," and asked him, "Do you know the reason why the black line appeared?" And he said no. Then the angel asked him to open his hands, and he opened them. When he opened his hands, there were some drops of blood in his hands. Moreover, the angel asked him, "Do you know the reason why there are drops of blood in your hands?" And he said, "No." Then the angel told him that the reason is that the souls he was supposed to have saved were dead, and each drop of blood represented a soul that was lost to hellfire. Your work was important to you than the souls that were perishing. You have destroyed yourself. When Francis heard that, he began to shiver in fear, and then I heard the thunderous voice which said, "Francis, depart. I know you not. Depart from me. Depart." And immediately a wind whose sound was like the sound of a flying jet came and carried Francis to hellfire. 4 people came to the point and were asked to depart, and whom the wind carried away to hellfire after Francis was sent to hellfire. But when the 5th person reached that point, the line appeared black, and the angel called him, Jonathan. Mr. Jonathan was a pastor. The angel asked him, "Jonathan, do you know why the line appeared black in color?" And he said no. Then the angel told him that it was because he was pleasing his senior pastor and was displeasing God. The angel told him that he was displeasing God by working in the church as a pastor instead of an evangelist. He was called to be an evangelist, but he became a pastor only because his senior pastor wanted him to pastor his church. Then the angel said to him, "Jonathan, you disappointed God, and you have been cut off from God's mercy. You will have yourself to blame." As soon as the angel told Jonathan that he will have himself to blame, a thunderous voice said, "Jonathan, I have rejected you forever. I know you not. Depart from me. Depart." And a wind came and carried him out to hellfire.